the big Aegon world, one of the large institutions out there. And so we built those companies, and of course, I had a long non-compete for many years, and it was up about 3.5, 4 years ago. So I've just launched into the third part of the trilogy. This is like the Lord of the Rings. This is the big one.
And I want to get into that part of the story, but what I want to figure out, how does a guy go from railroads, 17 years, not 17 months, 17 years of running on a track? How do you get off the track? Because I know I got a lot of people out there like car salesmen, plumbers, roofers. They're stuck making 80 grand. Maybe you're stuck at 150, or maybe you're stuck at 250, and you can't. Like,
I was stuck at 30,000.
Yeah, but it's all relative,
right? Back then,
right? You're stuck on a railroad. You're not even thinking about you're going to own. How many aircraft did you end up going through? 12. I mean, it takes money to buy aircraft. It's not bragging rights. It takes money.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I have to stay in business, because the price of our toys keeps getting higher.
So how did you get off? How do you make the transition? You got kids?
That's probably the most important thing I can say here today. Is that one thing is that, first of all, you got to keep your trying motor going. Mm-hmm. One of the things I learned back from Rich DeVos and Jay Van Andel, the guys that built the Amway business, they had a great speech he gave called "Try or Cry." So I kept my trying going. Mm-hmm. This magic of trying. You know, somewhere along the line, the trying's got to turn into doing. But you've got to keep your knees turning. You got to keep at it. And I was just that way. I just would not surrender. I mean, there was a couple of times in my life life almost had me, and I had my hands up to surrender, and I'd snatch them back down.
What am I thinking about?
I can't do that. And so I would stay at it and try to do these things. And a defining moment with me, I found out a long time ago that what you're looking for is looking for you. Mm-hmm. And you just got to be aware of that. And so here I was on the railroad, just desperately wanting to get away, trying to become an entrepreneur.
Are you reading books, or are you going to events?
I'd got a copy of Think and Grow Rich. Uh-huh. And one of the things that I had gotten into the Amway business, which was a fun way to make no money, but it was a good lesson. Mm-hmm. And for 7 or 8 years.
But some people have made money with Amway.
Oh, well, yeah.
A lot of money.
A handful of them, the big guys. Big guys. But I'm not knocking the company. I wouldn't give anything for my experience. If I hadn't been there, I probably wouldn't have developed the mindset and the systems mindset that I have today. So I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying this is the people out there doing that. This is this industry. If you want to be in the business, be in the money business. Uh-huh. That's where you need to be. So we literally brought this recruiting and building system into the insurance industry, which had never had anything like that in it before. But getting back to the moment,
the transition. How do you?
There was this window of time. There were several things that were happening that I didn't have anything to do with. I just happened to be able to go through the window. We don't create windows. We just got to recognize them and have the courage to go through them and be prepared to go through them. So that's what we were doing. But the big thing that I was ready. Art Williams had a former high school football coach, had been over at Waddell and Reed. He had left coaching. It was at Waddell and Reed trying to do his little buy-term and invest the difference. And he was frustrated. Said he felt like he was Moby Dick in a goldfish bowl. He had to get away. He had to find something bigger and better. So he went and started his little agency there out of Atlanta. And it was just 2 or 3 months into the game, just about 30 or so people were around him. And a little guy that I knew through our church association, his father wanted if his son could come over and see me. He didn't even tell me what it was. He introduces me accidentally to the story of what A.O. Williams was trying to do. And I was so ready that I jumped at it.
You were still on the railroad?
I'm on the railroad.
So up to this point, you've done a little Amway. So you understood the network marketing. You understood the distribution concept.
Well, I understood a little bit about recruiting and building, and I'd been to some.
And it was better than a railroad.
Oh yeah.
It was. So you were looking for an out.
Yeah, it gave me a chance to know that I like that. I like to be around people. I like to be around dreamers, things like that. It just felt like I was in an association of dreamers. Now we weren't making any money, but we were dreaming good. So here we were. I had all that going. Just for those guys out there that think they're too busy, I hear too many people saying I'm busy, but no, you're busy being busy. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what busy was. I mean, I was about 105-hour-a-week guy. I was working 60 to 70 hours a week on the railroad, gone 2 or 3 days at a time, off the end of the road, go to another town. You didn't just go 8 to 5 and come home. You went on trips. And I was doing that. Then I spent about 20, 25 hours a week trying to be an entrepreneur, to hopefully build my business up. I was a lay minister in our church, the Mormon church there, and I was a young bishop. I have a father of 4 kids. Got all this going for me, and then all of a sudden this opportunity pops up. And I easily could have said, man, 105 hours. I don't really sleep every 3 days now. Maybe I hadn't got time, but I had time because I wanted to get out of that railroad. My hunger level was so much, and so many things had happened on the railroad. That's a great training ground to get your desire up if you want to go work on the railroad.
But some guys stayed there. They could still be there.
But I'd already had that dreaming in me. See, my first 3 or 4 years on the railroad, I kind of got lost in. That was fun and games, riding trains, going to the other end of the road, goofing off with the guys at the other end of the road, getting in trouble or shit they got into.
Right.
And then I realized, hey, I'm an adult. I got a family. What am I doing? It was like I had an epiphany. I can remember the day it happened to. It was like I awakened one day on the caboose.
What am I doing?
And I said, who put me here?
Right.
Hey, what's happened?
Dude, why did that happen to you though? And so many people, I think a lot of people have this like, well, I'm stuck. I hear it all the time. So I'm like, I'm stuck. I want off. I want out. But you did it.
Well,
what's the difference?
I just kept trying. I was trying everything. I was looking at everything. I just made up my mind. Anything that I couldn't go, I didn't have a bunch of capital to go put into business. I didn't have the experience to go get into a business, so I felt I was blocked out there.
You didn't have the money. You didn't have the connections.
But when one of my railroad buddies comes over and says for $15, we can get in here and give this thing a try. That's $15. I know how to get $15. I went and borrowed it from my mother. So I had $15 to get started.
That's amazing.
And it didn't take. It was just. And then I started realizing the potential of it. We were in the early pioneer stages of what it was. So I kept
the early pioneer stages of what? So people, because I think there's some people out there that don't know, right? So
we were in the early stages of what became the network marketing industry, what became the multi-level market, whatever it was. That
didn't exist then.
Well, it was new.
Yeah.
For example, when I saw Amway, there was only about 20,000 people in Amway. Well, now that thing's had 80 or 90 million people over the last about 40 years. So anyway, it was.
So some people are gonna, when they hear that, they're gonna say, "Well, dude, if I would have been like in it when it was new, I would have been there." But when it was that new, that caused a lot of problems too, right?
Oh man, it was just such a radical, disruptive type of marketing type of a stature. And by the way, I'm just to get it clear, we're in Hegeman Group International, our company today, the big Primerica, A.L. Williams Primerica company that we had, that we built, the WMA, WFG company, those are not network marketing companies. We just brought a lot of those principles into a highly regulated industry and it built a super agencies.
Yeah, which was really, it's just a way to distribute your product or service, right?
Yeah, we were just super general agencies on steroids. That's what we were. And but anyway, getting back, I was just so prepared. And
you borrowed the $15 from your mom.
Yeah,
did you have to sell her on that idea, or she just gave it to you? You like easily.
I was her oldest, so she loved me. So anyway, she gave me. So I got in to do that. But after struggling 7 or 8 years,
how old are you at this point?
At that point was probably 26.
Okay.
26 years old when that was one of that epiphany occurred after 3 or 4 years on the railroad. And from that point forward, for the next 13 years on the railroad, I was trying to get out. I couldn't get out. I tried every way you could to get out. I couldn't get out. But I kept my trying motor going. That's the main thing I'm trying to point out here is that it wasn't just an overnight thing. It was an overnight thing for me to have that epiphany, which I'd had the epiphany as a little boy. I wanted to be somebody, and I lost it for 3 or 4 years on the railroad. I was satisfied. I was settling for something. You know what? I remember that when the doctor held me up and slapped me.
Do you remember this?
No.
I
remember how doctors do. I remember how doctors do. But when that doctor held me up by my feet and he slapped me on the butt like doctors used to do, I don't think they do it anymore.
Right.
But they used to. He didn't stamp railroad man on my butt. I could be anything I wanted to be.
Right.
And when I remembered that, is when I got it on, and that was the key. And so I stayed at it, kept going, and see, frustration is fertilizer. there's a fine line between frustration and anxiety.
I love that.
Grant, frustration and most of the people out there watching this, most of the people out there that you contacted, reached through all of your mediums out there, they're filled with anxiety. Anxiety will kill you. Anxiety means that I don't know what to do. Right. I don't know any solutions. I'm hopeless. That's anxiety. Now, frustration means I know there's a solution. I know I can do it. I just hadn't done it yet. I'm going to find it. That's good. That's healthy.
Yeah, so it sounds like the discouragement, like the disappointment and the frustration, you've said this a couple of times, actually you use that as fuel to get you satisfied.
It did. I mean, to me, it was tempering me. It was sort of like in a crucible. That was through the tempering me. To the harder the blow, the stronger the steel. I mean, I'd read books of the day, the different kind of motivational books. You didn't have your books out long about that time, so I didn't get to read your books at that way back in the day.
Well, I just started writing about 7 years.
I know, but way back in the day, you were in a different place then. But the bottom line that I'm pointing out here, guys, is that your frustration. Use it. Turn it. What's the old saying about a kite? It'll only rise against the wind, and that's the way you got to be. And
so use the frustration. Keep trying. Like I've heard you mention the trying thing over and over. Like
a great yachtsman, a great sailor. People who win the America's Cup, they all got the same wind. It's just one knows how to set the sails and capture the wind the right way, and it's a great force. And that's what you've got to do in life.